Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Olena Berezovska, and I'm so happy to have a new guest on my podcast. And I always invite in a very interesting people and knowledgeable people, specialists in psychology or medicine or science. And today, my guest from United States, and it's Matthew Higgins. Hi, Matthew. Nice to hear
Hi,
you.
Dr. Olena.
Have you here. And I'm going to introduce Matthew because he has a very interesting biography, and also the field he's involved in. It's like quite big, and we're going to talk today about very popular topic in psychology, and this popularity is growing so fast, and it's a secret I'll tell later. So I'm going to read about Matthew a little bit more, and if you need more information, just scroll down the video, go to information about the video, and you will have all information about my guest and also some links to his profile. So Matthew Higgins is an accomplished educator, coach, consultant, and scholar with a passion for melding the words of resilience, leadership, and positive psychology. Currently a full-time faculty at Central New Mexico Community College and adjunct instructor at Rice University's Jones Graduate School of Business. Matthew has over 7 years of teaching experience across renowned educational institutions and with a Ph.D. in positive organizational psychology. Expected in 2024, so Matthew is still studying, from Claremont Graduate University. He specializes in the study of resilience, team dynamics, and organizational culture. And prior to his academic pursuit, Matthew spent 13 years coaching basketball across various countries, which is amazing. He has showcased his expertise in organizational leadership by consulting for startups and has also published articles on resilience and positive psychology in education. And outside is a classroom, he is a sought-after speaker, having presented on topics like effective team functioning, resilience through sports, and leadership communication, and has been featured on several podcasts. With a long-term vision of becoming a professor and continuing his career as a consultant, author, and public speaker, Matthew aspires to serve in a professional sport organization, nurturing an ambitious dreams, and one day becoming a general manager of NBA team. Wow. So hello, Matthew. Welcome.
Hi.
I'm happy to see you. And as you probably following my introduction, get some kind of like ideas what we're gonna talk about. And okay, I'm not gonna keep this secret too long. No, we're not gonna talk about sport and basketball. We're not gonna talking about some organizational and business psychology. We're going to talk about very popular and general topic, resilience. As Matthew specializes in this topic. And I'll give you the word to explain more to people, because first of all, what I want to say, the meaning and definition of resilience is different sometimes, like in different even countries. And even if you translate the word resilience in Ukrainian and other Slavic languages, we don't have a true translation of this meaning, and then we lose actually we lose the truth about resilience in some other languages. It's not survival. It's not like some other kind of like the components of resilience itself. But resilience, it's not just like the word. It's a huge part of our life that allows us to survive and also be happy. So please, Matthew, I'm really happy you're going to cover this topic, because there's a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of kind of like, untrue explanation about resilience. So let's start with definition, and you'll tell more about importance to understand what actual resilience is.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned a lot of the challenges with defining it in that it's something we all experience, but we don't all experience life in the exact same way. So we all go through challenges, but the way that we respond to those challenges is going to vary depending on ourselves and depending on our culture. But essentially, that's what resilience is. It's how we respond to challenges. It's our approach to getting back to the way that life was prior to experiencing that adversity or that traumatic event or just that obstacle in life. Some cultures tend to define, specifically Western culture. I grew up in the United States. It's the culture I'm raised in and most familiar with. We tend to view resilience as including an element of growth. So it's not necessarily just getting back to where we were prior to experiencing adversity. We actually strive to be a bit better than where we were before. But
Mm-hmm.
that's not true across cultures. Some cultures view resilience more so as maintaining healthy relationships or maintaining a sense of hope and optimism for the future. But when you try to boil it down or try to explain it in the simplest terms as possible in a way that's universally understood, it just becomes very complicated because it's a very diverse world and it's a very diverse set of cultures. But essentially, it's returning to some semblance of life pre-adversity. It's getting back to where you were prior to experiencing that challenging event. And the way that you define what that means is just it's going to vary depending on what you experienced, who you are, and the cultural backgrounds that are driving you on a day-to-day basis.
So in general, we can say it's to be adjusted to something, it's to survive, it's to
Yes.
improve, right? It's
Yeah.
actually overstep some obstacles and
Mm-hmm.
many other kind of meaning in this resilience uh, like definition, because it's
Mm-hmm.
not just like to be adjusted. I mean, it's a combination of everything we do
Mm-hmm.
to live. And
Mm-hmm.
to go ahead in our future with better results, especially if we want to get better results.
Mm-hmm.
And I was before the topic, I was thinking about meaning of resilience, especially in Slavic culture, because I'm Ukrainian. And I remember like I got these genes, probably I usually laugh, and I got genes from my grandmother and my mother, who went through a lot of difficult times, like two wars, and then even like many disasters, economical one, and they survived. And they always had this positive attitude. So in spite of very difficult times, they believe in something better, and they always
Mm-hmm.
like were strong. And I never paid attention on this part of my like parents and grandparents. And only now I start understanding that this positive attitude and this resilience, and I got probably from my mother and the mother side and my grandmother, because they
Mm-hmm.
were very strong women. And at the same time, I cannot say that it's just only resilience, but what do you think if the resilience is connected to our genes or somehow like, or the culture we live in on, like where we got this resilience, where we can improve this resilience? I mean, if it's related to somehow to the family, because it's just, I try to understand where we can
Mm-hmm.
take from something we already had in the past and how we can improve this resilience. And that's why we'll be talking about concepts and how these concepts are changing through the years. So
Mm-hmm.
please, if you can answer this question, I'll appreciate it.
Sure. So there's not necessarily a universal genetic trait of resilience. There isn't like
Mhm.
you have it or you don't. But in terms of the familial aspect or the genetic aspect, we all have certain traits that are an asset for us when we are experiencing adversity. And it's going to vary from person to person, but also it varies from culture to culture. And in this idea of what is it about our historical background that we have relied on as a culture or as a society that helps us move through adversity? And so we tend to lean on those and they get passed down kind of from generation to generation. And, for some cultures, it can be this aspect of hope, maintaining this idea that there is a better future, regardless of how far out it might be. It could be a very long term approach of the better future is multiple decades away, or it could be more short term that the better future is maybe just 1 year away, and leaning on that aspect. But other cultures can view the path of resilience as a matter of work ethic, really just not focusing on what's going wrong, but rather focusing on how hard are you working on things now, and that's your path forward, with this idea of cultural values being the driver of resilience. And we lean on certain traits to kind of accelerate those cultural values as the tools of resilience. So it's not necessarily this genetic trait of you're resilient or you're not. It's more so, how are you using your specific skills, your specific strengths, in relation to cultural values to move forward through adversity?
It's interesting. And, the knowledge about resilience and how to be stronger or how to be better, how to get this positive feelings and achievements in life as well, everything, right? We get in from family, but we also get in from society, from specific leaders, from our favorite, let's say, authors and psychologists, because before it's something new in the positive psychology, I would say. Probably it was before. And if you have some kind of knowledge about how it started, or maybe why it became so important, I'll appreciate if you mention this as well.
Yeah, so I think one of the drivers of resilience is our well-being. It's one of the things that there's two ways that well-being, and the research in positive psychology, there's two ways that it helps us with resilience. The first is more of a preventative approach. So higher well-being prior to adversity, for the most part, helps us develop resilience more effectively. It allows us to do it with a little less effort and a little bit quicker. But it also helps us in response. So I'm not to say that if you experience adversity, if you just boost your well-being, you'll be fine. You actually do have to address the challenges at the same time. But if you can address the challenges while also tend to your well-being after experiencing adversity, that's also a really nice tool in how you respond to that adversity and develop your resilience. So it's kind of a twofold approach, which is why the study of positive psychology is so valuable in the study of resilience, because it looks at both perspectives of it. It looks at how we can create adaptive resilience. This is building up our ability to adapt to adversity before it happens, but it also is a very nice tool for responsive resilience, which is a nice addition to our toolkit to responding to specific adversities. So there's a lot of relationships that, like I said, they help us prepare for resilience, even though we can't really predict the challenges that we're going to face. But it also helps us respond to the challenges that emerge in the moment.
I like your answer because it's full of wisdom, and it's the same like in medicine. We have the treatment of disease and the prevention of disease. And I think we have to move in two directions, because if we have some problem, and especially psychological problem, then it's not just like fixing the problem and make our psycho-emotional condition or status better. But it's also, we would like to have this better condition in the future. We don't want to go back or had repeated accidents in our life and then react in the same way. Because we are humans. I know that I had also some negative moments in my life, really unpleasant, especially emotionally, psychologically. I'm not talking about it physically, but it's affect my life, it's affect my work, it's affect everything, because if I'm in psychological stress, of course, I cannot function properly. It doesn't matter what's the level of the stress, but depends on the reaction of individuals, right? And that's why, treatment of the condition, or let's say working with resilience, improving the level of resilience in specific moment of your life, if one thing, it's like in present. But I like that you divided that. Yes, we need to work more on the future, on our future, because if we plan to live at least 10, 20, 30 years, I don't know how many years everybody's planning to live, but it means we want to live a high quality life. And high quality is not about material things, it's about mostly our comfort life, satisfaction with the life, right? Not even about happiness, because happiness is kind of like moments, but satisfaction with our life gives us more pleasure in life. Yeah, and here I would like to hear from you how we can improve resilience. Let's say if we have a problem, and then what is this preventative psychology, let's say, or preventative methods to improve resilience in the future as well, that we would never be the same in the negative way as we facing something like some problem.
Yeah, so I do want to say that I feel like I may have misspoke a little bit because I actually don't like the term preventative because I feel as though people may misunderstand that to mean that if you build up your well-being, you're going to prevent adversity from happening. And that's not what I meant. What I meant is that if you build up your well-being in the present, it makes it less difficult to respond to adversity when it happens. Because one thing that is a fact of humanity, regardless of the culture, regardless of where you are, adversity happens. You can't prevent it. There's no predicting it. There's no controlling it. So the value of building up your well-being is that it just gives you, it's almost like your immune system. It helps you respond to the adversity when it happens first. But I think one of the more important parts of preparing for adversity is meaningfulness and having an idea and a commitment to what brings you meaning in life. It's one of the really strong drivers of our motivation to keep going. And it's one of the things that really got me into the study of resilience. I was, like you mentioned in my biography, I was a basketball coach, and I got really burnt out. I got really tired of being a basketball coach. There was challenges in the career that I didn't really expect, and I had a hard time with them. And I left coaching. I went into academia, and I started studying resilience. And what I realized is that a lot of people that participate in sports, the reason why they love their sport is because it gives them a sense of meaning, and it also gives them resilience. It gives them something to work towards. And that's what got me hooked on this idea that the meaningfulness in our life is actually one of the drivers of our resilience. And you see that that's one of the challenges with organizational and workplace and career resilience is that oftentimes we don't have a sense of meaningfulness in the jobs that we do. For the majority of us, we're taking a job because we need the financial support. We need the financial security. So we don't necessarily have meaningfulness in it. And when adversity strikes in our career, it can be hard to keep moving in that career because we don't typically find it to be meaningful. So one of the best ways to boost our adversity immune system, if you want to think of it that way, is to build meaningfulness in our life. And that can start with first just identifying what is it that we find meaningful? What is it that gives us purpose and helps us understand the world around us? And when adversity strikes, what are the ways that we can do to lean into that source of meaning to help motivate us and keep us moving forward? So I think one of the best or the strongest tools of resilience that is going to be applicable cross-culturally and across settings, whether it's personal life or organizations, is a sense of meaning. And that's, I found to be a really nice tool because it's a little easier to define and a little easier to embrace than this general idea of well-being, because I found when you try to teach well-being, a lot of people tend to misconstrue that as just being happy. And that's not, you don't need to be happy to be resilient. You can be resilient and still be experiencing the really challenging emotions that come with the adversity. But if you can build meaningfulness, you can find a path forward a bit more effectively than just trying to tell everybody, hey, be happy. I know this is hard, but please just be happy.
It's true. And I quite often mention my friend because she has first stage of cancer, or let's say had it, because recently we got her results that she's clear of metastasis in any tumor. It means the cancer first stage is gone. And when people say, no, it's impossible because first stage, usually it's the last stage when people died and there is no cure. But I remember when 2 years ago, we found that she got metastasis and she started chemotherapy. We were talking about this resilience things. Like she changed the perception of life. She said, I want to survive because I want to travel. I want to play golf. I want to enjoy my life. I want to read books. And she said, do you know in the medicine the cases when the fourth stage is recovering? Of course, I said, because everything about percentage. So we have high percentage of survival for early stages of cancer, but we also have some percentage of survival for late stages of cancer. It depends on your perception. I said, I have perception that I want to live and I want to get rid of everything. I'll do whatever the doctor says, but I have so many plans now. And she stopped working. She changed her, like completely changed the perception of life. So now the life becomes a priority, but not in a way of like, some pain that it can go away. That I supported her and my friends supported her, but in a way that if you have plans to live and do something in your life, let's just plan it. Let's just go forward step by step. And this wonderful news that she's clear of cancer. I mean, it's just like amazing news we got last week. And then I was thinking, it's true when her resilience grew up, and now she's reacting completely different. But I think it's really the art of being resilient, the art of learn something and also understand yourself and enjoy life. And that's why you said that, you don't need to be let's say financially successful, because everybody has different meaning in life. And that's why resilience is not just about work or about relationship, but again, we're talking about goals, because we know where we have something that limited, or let's say not even limited, but let's say on a level that we would like to improve. And I totally agree with what you said. And probably when I said also about prevention, again, it's hardly to prevent some diseases. I mean, it's not that you were kind of like sick and then suddenly you're going to be healthy because you'll be taking some medication or whatever. But it's your life. It's like changing the perception of life, of your condition, of your problems, and also what would you like to enjoy in your life. So and that's the resilience, the knowledge of resilience. It's very important. And as I know now, I found like some psychologists, they teach they provide these courses on resilience, and they teach resilience. But I also know that for many people, this word resilience unknown, or they don't understand what they're going to get from the course. At the same time, I think we have to teach resilience and positive psychology at schools, right, from the beginning. And then I think we would have healthier population and psychologically healthy population. And we have to teach parents, we have to teach everyone like how to improve this resilience level. And and then I would like to ask you, because the topic of resilience already for at least how many years, like 30-40 years?
A bit more, some of the first studies of resilience were in 1967, so close to 70 years now.
So, and do you see any changes of perception of in definition, or also the different concepts of resilience, and where we are going in the future? So what actually we concentrate attention now?
So that's a good question, because it's related to something I wanted to respond to. So there was something you said that I wanted to acknowledge. So you brought up this idea of the art of resilience. And that's one of the reasons why I love the field so much, because to me, it is a bit of an art. And that's one of the kind of debates that exists within the science and the literature of resilience. Is there's this real strong drive as the scientists that we are to create a very operationalizable, this very concrete definition of what resilience is that's going to be applicable across cultures, across settings. And there's also this drive to establish what are the processes for building it. And there's almost this idea that we could make it formulaic. If you do these things, you will become resilient. And that's just not true, because resilience is not a math, and it's not a formula that you just do the things and you become. It's more of an art. It's more of a practice. It's something that you actually need to be a little bit creative to develop, because you have to take the situation for what it is and mold that to turn it into what you want life to become. And so this idea of resilience as an art, that's what really resonates with me, because like art itself, it's not one thing. You've got music, you've got painting, drawing, sculpture, you've got poetry, writing, all these different forms that fall under this category of art. And it's true for resilience. It can be community resilience, responding to a prolonged economic downturn. It can be individual resilience, responding to grief. It can be individual resilience, responding to health concerns. It can be larger societal challenges like the COVID pandemic and how we're bouncing back
Yeah.
collectively. And not all of those are the same. And all of those require a somewhat different process of taking what you have and turning it into what you want. So this idea that resilience is something that you can pinpoint and define as exactly this thing and do exactly these things, I just don't think it's possible. It's much more fluid and dynamic. So to build on that is to answer your question of where is the field going. I think the field is starting to really acknowledge this, that it's very fluid, and what matters for defining and researching resilience is really dependent on the context. Where are we now, and where does this particular group or person, where do they want to go? But one of the other key drivers of resilience research is looking at the broader societal changes. We're becoming much more technologically advanced and much more technologically connected. But at the same time, it does appear that we're becoming less socially connected in person. So the research is starting to reflect that. How do we build resilience? Historically, it was really socially driven. We rely on relationships. We rely on each other. And is that changing moving forward? Are we becoming less social? Do we need to adapt our resilience strategies to reflect that? What role is technology going to play? How is it going to be a resource for us? So I think a lot of the research is starting to trend towards that. And one of the nice things about it is that there is a real strong emphasis on education. How do we bring these practices, whether they're universal or not, how do we bring these into the education system? Similar to art, right? You can't necessarily teach people how to paint exactly like Picasso or exactly like Georgia O'Keeffe. But what you can do is you can teach them some of the foundational skills of how to layer a canvas, how to understand reflections and understand light sources. And then you let them take it from there. You let them build their own artistic practice from those foundations. And it's pretty similar with resilience. You can teach them some of the foundations, and then you let people be creative with how they respond to adversity from there. So to kind of summarize all this, I think the field is moving from trying to pinpoint resilience as a formula and turning it more into a scientific art, if you will.
What a wonderful conversation. I really enjoy it. And, thank you for mentioning about this technologies we have now, because for us, more senior, let's say, population, it's very difficult to accept that technology is changing. But at the same time, if we understand that it has a lot of benefits, and we use the cell phones, we use Zoom podcasts, we use everything we can to use, and even feel better. Because I remember when I moved to Canada almost 30 years ago, the call to Ukraine cost me like less than 3 minutes, $10, and it was a lot for me at the time. And whatever I could say, just hi, mom, and then I start crying, and my husband was talk faster, minutes, and then and then actually with the time I was able to talk to her on Skype through the Skype video chats, and she was coming to my sister, and then we talked for 20 minutes, for 1 hour, depends. And she accepted this very easily. She said, if I have opportunity to see you, why not? And now we have opportunity to talk every day. My mom, of course, passed away, but I mean, I have opportunity to talk with everyone around the world, and through video chats and through phones, doesn't matter. And my phone, it's a little computer. And I understand that the younger population, especially generation of these teenagers right now who hook up to all these apps and cell phones, of course they have different perception of life around, and we have to be adapted. And I understand that even the positive psychologists more active now, because we have more research data. We work on a evidence-based psychology data, right? So, and the only one thing that's staying without change is like education. There is no subject like life. There's no subject like psychology at school, because everybody is probably too hard to understand. and even like creating the relationship and many other things of life itself, like what we have in life. Yeah, we have just like subject that we probably will use or maybe forgot in the future, but life starts with like, with birth of the person, even before. But I mean, when the life starts itself, here it's like total zero for students, for pupils to understand. That's why I'm glad that positive psychology is going in a way of create the friendship between us human beings and our life. And if I can say it this way, right? That's why it's art, because the creation is always art. And we have, sometimes we can fail, sometimes we get in some unexpected results, but much better. But this is all we call life, and I'm glad that we have these topics now, and we can talk, and maybe some people, some viewers would understand more what we're talking about, how they can change their life in a better way and be more strong to different unpleasant events. And at the end, I usually ask guests, my speakers, to give some tips or summarize, like in a short way, that the viewers will take with them into the practical part of existing, I mean, in life.
Sure. I think the two things are, when it comes to resilience, the two things are do things that are meaningful to you and spend time with the people that bring you a sense of gratitude. And when I say spend time, it doesn't necessarily have to be in person. Some of my most meaningful relationships are ones that started online and still exist online. And if that's what that means, spend time with people in the ways in which those relationships were built. So yeah, if you find yourself experiencing challenges, setbacks, or some form of adversity, really two nice ways to give you motivation and inspiration and hope for the future to move forward, to work on your resilience, is to spend time doing things that you find to be meaningful and spend time with people that bring you a sense of gratitude. And it's a nice start. It's not a perfect solution, but it is a start to moving in the direction that you want to move in.
Thank you very much for this wonderful discussion of resilience. And I really enjoyed our podcast, and I hope all viewers will enjoy as well. So if you need to know more about Matthew Higgins, my guest from United States, just scroll down the video down to information about the video, and you'll find more information. And also don't forget to like this video and share with other people. Invite your friends to this podcast, because they're always interested and they're very unique and has a lot of positive energy and good advices from my guests. Thank you, Matthew, again.
Thank you.
And I hope this is not the first and the last one. I mean, not the last one podcast we will be doing with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I had a great time.
Bye-bye.